Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. Time to finish the road. Last one there is a nice person. Hello, I'm J-Law, but you can call me Justin. And if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric and all things bewitching, because today's episode is about Agatha All Along. That's right, this is our spoiler-free review for the latest Disney Plus series from Marvel Television, Agatha All Along. A huge thanks to our friends at Disney Studios Canada and Marvel Studios Canada for setting us up with screeners so we can get you this review somewhat early. The embargo is lifting on the day of release. We are still grateful to have watched 4 episodes ahead of the 2-episode premiere that is happening tonight, September 18th at time of recording. But of course, I can't journey down the Witch's Road without my own coven. Joining me today are 2 members of that geeky coven that will cast a spell on you with their wit, their charm, and their straight up hexiness. Darcy Hudson,
Ooh.
Megan Chambers, how are you?
Doing good. You're a bit of a rough entry for you there, man. Like,
Yeah, I know.
A lot. Now I am
like,
too. It's contagious.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Which means we're not ready for the Witch's Road, but that's okay.
No, we're not. And I don't know if any of us have really a great singing voice for the Witch's Road. That
no,
seems to be
that'd be our missing coven member, Nate.
And
Yes,
Kevin
he
too.
could-
I'd say they both got good
Actually,
voices.
Kevin and Nate, back when we were doing those parody singing videos, they were the ones that drove it. So yeah, they both have beautiful singing voices. We'll curse them for not being here. No, that's okay.
There you go.
Now, before we get into our spoiler-free review, I thought we could kick things off talking about another show that is quite influential to this show, Agatha All Along, and that is WandaVision. It has been over 3 years since this series debuted and kicked off the MCU on the streaming services with Disney Plus. And I'm sure we'll be talking about WandaVision in relation to this latest series. So I thought I'd ask, how did you guys feel about WandaVision? I know, Meg, like, you were a huge fan of that show, and like with the influence of WandaVision going into Agatha, how excited are you for this show?
Well, WandaVision was my absolute favorite Marvel anything. Aside from like Spider-Man and obviously Infinity War and Endgame, WandaVision was, to me, the best show that they've done so far. It was so creative and so out of the box, like week to week had no clue what to expect with that show, and that was part of why I loved it so much. Also a big fan of TV in regards to the different genres that they touched on in each episode, and the callbacks to like 90s comedies and like family shows and stuff. It was so much fun to watch. So going into Agatha All Along, I was wondering if they were going to do kind of the same thing or just completely stray from that. But I'm really happy to say that they've taken their own spin on what WandaVision did, and I think that's incredible. So I'm really excited to continue watching the show and see what else they'll reference from the original.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Darcy, how about for yourself?
I mean, again, same here. I loved what I loved most about WandaVision was the journey through TV that they took us on through all the different eras and stuff like that. And like you're saying, Meg, it was exciting to get back into this series, seeing again them do their own take on a journey through cinema, if you will, more that horror side of things. And it's been a lot of fun. And again, that first series was so well written that the follow-up that we got for Scarlet Witch's story was so disappointing in the Multiverse of Madness. So
yes,
again, coming into this series, I was hoping that we at least get to see a return to form with some of these characters. And again, Agatha, just like she hasn't missed a beat. You know, Kathryn Hahn coming back into this role has been incredible. So like, yeah, again, I'm getting all the vibes I got from WandaVision, only 4 episodes in, and I can't wait to see where this story takes us.
Yeah, I think you guys are both touching on exactly how I feel as well. It's like, yeah, you know, WandaVision was like pinnacle MCU television, you know, week to week theories, discussions. Fans were at the end of every episode like, oh, I gotta wait a whole week for the next episode.
Yeah.
Come on. And that journey was awesome. Like that experience was fantastic. And I don't think we've really had anything close to it unless you really tap into like Loki a little bit. But like, I really do think that WandaVision kicked it off, and it had its own tone and vibe, obviously derivative of the genres of television that we know and love and the eras of television. But it was so well crafted. And Jac Schaeffer has talked extensively about the idea of the mystery box and keeping things contained, and the idea of weaving through this notion of intrigue that can excite you, maybe even make you mad at times. And I think that's so apparent in this show thus far with the 4 episodes that we were gifted. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. Let's get into it. Before we do, let me inform our lovely listeners about what this show's all about. The infamous Agatha Harkness finds herself down and out of power after a suspicious goth teen helps break her free from a distorted spell. Her interest is piqued when he begs her to take him on the legendary Witch's Road, a magical gauntlet of trials that, if survived, rewards a witch with what they're missing. Together, Agatha and this mysterious teen pull together a desperate coven and set off down the road. This, of course, stars Kathryn Hahn, Joe Locke, Sasheer Zamata, Alia Khan, Maria Dizzia, Paul Adelstein, Miles Gutierrez-Riley, with Debra Jo Rupp and Patti LuPone and Aubrey Plaza. The directors featured in this 9-part miniseries are Ganja Matero, Rachel Goldberg, and Jac Schaeffer, who is also writer, executive producer, showrunner. Agatha All Along streams exclusively on Disney Plus beginning today, September 18th, with the first 2 episodes. And as I mentioned before, we are going to be talking about the first 4 episodes. So let's get into that discussion. I have our pillars, and we'll talk about what worked and what didn't work within each. And we'll talk about look and feel and tone, if you will, performances, and then story so far. We will definitely be alluding to more how, if we're hooked or interested in that portion, we're not going to be giving anything away. We want to save the surprises for the audience to experience. But what's great is you're going to get 2 episodes, and then there's going to be 2 more after in the coming weeks. So let's get into it. Look and feel and tone, kind of jumping off of where we were talking about with WandaVision and what you said, Meg. This show inherently adopts yet spins its own spell, if you will, of being different from WandaVision in a lot of ways. It's embracing other genre elements and mixing them in. But what's really great is that first episode, it feels very conventional to like the WandaVision, but everything after that is just freedom. And it's less of a containment. And I think that what works so well is that translation of what that vibe and feel from WandaVision, carrying it through. It might not necessarily be as literal throughout the rest of this show, but what's really great about that first episode is that it really does take us back to that WandaVision style, and it transitions us out of it to something that's new. So I think that was really, really great, and I think it really works well in setting up how this show is different, because the following episodes after are very different.
Oh, absolutely. The best part to me is that what WandaVision did with humor, Agatha is doing with like spooky horror. Like I heard a story from a friend of mine kind of vibes, which is so fun. As our resident non-horror geek, I was a little apprehensive going into the show because I wasn't sure how far they lean into the horror of it all. But I really think that they've done a perfect medium. There's still like Agatha's sense of humor is still very much there. The other characters that come along the story with her, especially Joe Locke, in my opinion, who plays Teen, does a fantastic job at representing the Gen Z of it all.
Right.
And I'm really loving the vibe, the tone, the aesthetics of every episode have been really fun. And it's all so different, but with one story weaving us through the entire thing, which again is a great representation of what WandaVision started for us.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm right there with you guys. Is the fact that as soon as you're tuning into the first show or first episode, it feels like you're watching the season 2 of WandaVision, and the fact that we are getting a new, take on this genre or whatever, and then by the end of it, we're realizing that that's not the full case and everything like that. And again, where they go from that first episode is incredible. The mystery in this series is from the first episode, you're on board, and the little tidbits you get with each episode just make you want more and more. And I cannot wait the 3 weeks that we have to now wait for that next episode to drop, because this show is so good at getting you like hooked, basically.
Yes. Yeah, like I really think that the way that the tone and vibe of these episodes again is so inherently inspired by WandaVision, but is going further with it. And it's episodes 3 and 4 that you really start to see how they're doing their own thing. Because I think the first 2 episodes, which again you're going to see tonight, you probably already have seen it if you're listening to this, they set the tone of setting up what's to come, the journey that will be the sort of premise of this show. I think it makes so much sense that the first 2 episodes are premiering back to back, because it really does give you 2 sides. It gives you that reminiscent WandaVision-esque and transition to our own solo Agatha story. And I think that that's what the first 2 do. It's really, though, episodes 3 and 4 that you start to see more of the definitive vibe and tone that they're going for, especially with the introduction of the road. And I just want to spend a second here and talking about it. As I mentioned in the synopsis, which it is part of the story, this journey down the witch's road. And the environment is so integral to feeling that vibe and tone. For those who might not know, it was built like on a massive soundstage, so everything you're seeing, cool. I think at the end of episode 2, you're going to see a little bit of it, but wait till you get to episodes 3 and 4, and you start to see how expansive it is. And there's been some featurettes that Marvel has put out already that talk about the behind the scenes, and you do get to see this massive stage and them building the witch's road. So the fact that they committed to building miniatures and other elements of sort of more classic Hollywood and relying less on visual effects and CGI, you can see it. You can see it in every bit of what they have brought to life in the moments, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely mind blowing.
And I gotta say, that's Marvel taking back quality over quantity. Yeah, I think that's a good representation of the fact that they're thinking about that now.
Yeah, I think it's also like it's also about really selling this too, right? Yeah. Like, to your point, it does show a sense of quality, but it also shows a sense of commitment of really pulling audiences into this world, because when you go heavy-handed with CGI over practical, it starts to show. It takes people out. And I think we've all been victim of that at some point, where we're just like, oh, this is too fake, I'm out.
Yep.
Quantumania looking at you.
Yeah.
Now, what I think, talking about the practical effects, what I think it really helps is the fact that this Witch's Road is the big mystery. Like, what is it? Yes. It becomes a character almost in this show. And the fact that it's practical and it's so fully realized really helps drive home the fact that this road is the driving force of this story. And we're going to be, this journey on the road is this show in its nutshell. But what that journey entails is so mysterious. And again, the way they bring it to life with the practical, blending with, again, that otherworldly aesthetic they managed to bring to life so well. It's really cool. And again, I can't wait for people to see the first look and really get to go on this journey, because again, there's 3 and 4, just, I want to go on the road myself just to see what it looks like. Like, it looks like a cool hike.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they at Fan Expo, they had like this really small thing that was there that allowed you to experience something like it. But now it makes so much more sense as to why they were bringing that and traveling. They had it at D23 as well. And it makes sense because there is such a focus on practical effects that it only would make sense that they could bring some of that elements. At D23, they also had the TVA stuff there. And that kind of gave you a little bit more of a taste and flavor of what that set looked like. But that said, obviously, as you mentioned, Darcy, the character of the road. It is so integral to the story, and you really do get that in the episodes 3 and 4. But speaking of characters, let's move on to talking about the outstanding performances from the entire cast. I will say these 4 episodes, the Coven, we've gotten a flavor and taste of who they are, and I'm very intrigued, and I'm very hooked into learning more about them. But it really is Kathryn Hahn, Joe Locke, and Aubrey Plaza that in these 4 episodes, I'm just amazed by them and just what they can do. But before we start talking about them, like I said, the Coven is great. I'm definitely very intrigued by Patti LuPone. Is fantastic in this.
So good, good.
Amazing.
Who are some standouts for you guys?
I mean, for me, I think, like you said, intriguing is a great word for these first 4 episodes, because we get the gist of the larger story, which we'll talk about later. But each individual character has been through something that we don't really know yet, but it's hinted at throughout each episode, which I love so much, that it's not just handed to us. I'm so over being like handheld through a TV show. Please let me try to figure it out myself. And I think this is they're doing such a fantastic job with that. Each character is playing to the fact that we don't know what they've been through quite yet. And for me, I really, really appreciated Ali Ann's performance in these first few episodes. She does a fantastic job. And obviously, I'm very partial to Debra Jo Rupp.
She's delightful.
I'm obsessed with her.
She's Kitty in real life. I want more time with her in any character she brings to life, because they're always so delightful and bubbly.
Yeah, and she's awesome to see brought back from Westview. She was definitely a highlight. And again, like, even the way she was in WandaVision, she had moments of levity with comedy and sort of sincerity, but then she was also really scary when she would have like
the
emotional
end of the first episode?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think that, again, like, to bring her back and to, again, have her be just herself, that is so amazing. But I love what you're saying too, and we'll talk about it when we get into story, but there's so much to explore about the Coven, and each of them have a different personality and characteristic that is so a mixed bag of characters brought together unexpectedly, unwillingly too, right? Like like they don't really want to be there, but they're learning stuff about themselves along the way. And to your point, that mystery and understanding their history is such a great journey. I'm glad that we're not being, as you said, Meg, force fed that. It's something that we're learning and developing as the show goes on. And I think that's a big difference too from WandaVision. It's, we knew the characters, we knew some of them and who they were, and like Agatha was obviously was a big mystery, but the mystery obviously of understanding what was going on in WandaVision, that was the mystery, like what's happening here. It's more about these characters, who they are, what's their relationship with either the Witch's Road, and what's their history. That seems to be so integral to all of these characters, and sort of a growing theme throughout each of these episodes. Joe Locke, his name is Teen. Big mystery around him. We won't really get into that. But he is absolutely amazing. I feel like he, like you said, he's the Gen Z, but he's also sort of the vessel for the audience to kind of experience this. I don't know. How did you guys feel about his performance?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was, as soon as we see him in episode 1, you're kind of introduced to this mystery, and then you get to know him a bit more in episode 2, and you instantly find yourself connected with the character, because he's such a fanboy almost of witches in general. So just seeing him have that exuberance and the excitement to work with these witches and maybe go on down this journey with them, his excitement is infectious. He's just such a good job of bringing that to life on the screen. And again, the fact that this is one of his first big roles, is he's doing a great job, and I can't wait to see what else he does, because again, with the few episodes we've got with him, he is, again, kind of the glue almost holding this Coven together, because like I said, they don't really like each other, but kind of getting into this. They're all forced to. They appreciate him because he is an outsider looking in almost. It's really nice.
Yeah, I actually really love him in Heartstopper. So if you haven't seen that, everybody should go and watch it. He does a phenomenal job. And I also really love it's not very in your face, but he is still representing that same like type of person. He is still playing a gay character without it being like obvious in your face kind of thing. It's really cool that they've brought that part of him to this show.
Yeah, and they've added that, right? Like they're not trying to, change his character,
make it about that or anything.
Exactly, yeah, or focus on that. He is who he is, and I love that. That's beautiful. I love that we can have stories that very much bring real personal traits without having to change characteristics about a person to accommodate a character. I think you're absolutely right on that. But you both kind of were touching on it. He's there's a mystery, there's a question mark on him, and we don't know anything. We haven't discovered anything, but he is one of the big mysteries, along with Aubrey Plaza. Like Aubrey Plaza's character of Rio is fantastic. She is devilishly like evil. She's comedic at times. She's kind of crazy. I love how the Coven and some of these, well, yeah, she is crazy. She is entirely crazy, because even the Coven at times were just like, she's crazy. And I just love, like Kathryn Hahn, who we'll talk about. It looks like Aubrey is just having so much fun being this character, and I love it for her, and I absolutely adore her in this series. She to me is one of the most intriguing characters outside of Teen and obviously the Coven. Learning about Aubrey Plaza's character of Rio, I am very excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, 100%. Again, as the big comic fan in the group, the fact that this is a MCU new character entirely, I have nothing to go off of for my speculation here. And it has me so excited to see what potential, who is she going to represent? Is there going to be a twist at the end where she's someone else? Whatever it is, she's just, like you said, she's having a ball with this role. I'm reminded of April from Parks and Recreation, where she has the same kind of that unhinged attitude about her that just give her magic powers, and now you've got Rio Vidal, and it's so good. It's so much fun.
I think she's just that person, though. You know what I mean? Like,
that's just Aubrey.
That's just her.
Yeah,
that
because
just
she
her
in her
to a
humor,
T.
like in her humor in like interviews and stuff like that, she's so dry, and then I don't know if she's being serious or sarcastic, and sometimes she can be like a little like devilishly evil, and it's like I think she's just she's just having fun, and she's going to the extreme with it, and you can see it in every time she's on screen.
And I really love that each individual character truly does have their own individuality. Right. Nobody's stepping on anybody's toes. No one is taking over notes that should be in other characters. They all are doing their jobs, and they all fit so well together, whether or not they want to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. The interesting part about Aubrey's character of Rio, you were kind of touching on it there, Darcy. She's completely original, but on some red carpet interviews, she says she's very excited for audiences to learn more about her character and the mystery around her character. And so that, to me, reassures me that there is something to take away from her that is of significance outside of just being an original character. And when she's acting opposite of Kathryn Hahn, Kathryn had talked about it in an interview where she mentioned that they didn't really talk about it. They didn't discuss it. They just kind of stayed in their corners outside of preparation. And when they were on set, they just acted off of each other. And I think it's incredible to see how fluid and natural that their performances were. And with that, let's talk about Agatha Harkness. Kathryn Hahn she is just chewing up every moment she is on screen. The theatricality, the drama, the sort of stage presence that she has in every scene. She is born to be this character. I feel like there's like, I think she said this too, there's a little witch in her, and I think Agatha is that witch, and I think you see that in every scene that she's in. She is incredible.
Yeah, she's pretty unbelievable. From I don't even know where to begin. Like, every single emotion that Agatha goes throughout these first 4 episodes, at least, she is putting on a clinic, just the same way that Elizabeth Olsen did in WandaVision. Mm-hmm. You're given this array of storylines and emotions and things that your character has gone through, and man, does she bite into every single moment and doesn't let it happen too fast. She takes her time with every single scene, whether it be hilariously devilish or if it's very emotional. She's doing the most.
Yeah, and there is a moment, like you get the sense in one specific episode, I think it might have been episode 4, where you start to see a little more on the other side of Agatha, and maybe that the side that we see and that we've constantly seen is very much a mask, a face, if you will. You know, there's this moment where you get to see another side of her that's very emotional, very heartfelt, and almost in some ways makes you question, is she a villain? Which is why, you know, I had the opportunity to chat with Jac Schaeffer and ask her that question: is she a villain? And you know, she thinks that she is, based on specific decisions and you know, other elements, and maybe she is a villain based on the fact that the way the MCU defines her. But I also believe that it's really a point of perspective, and we haven't really discovered all of Agatha's story, so we'll probably learn more as to what kind of transitioned her to that villainry, if you will.
Well, and the best villains are villains who have a reason to do what they've done.
A motive, yes.
Yeah, like you can kind of understand why Thanos did what he did.
For sure.
Doesn't mean it's a good thing he did it,
no,
but
sure. Yeah. But I think you're bringing up a really great point, and I think it's something that we've been talking about, or at least been seeing a lot more, is these stories about villains, and that humanize, and not justify, but humanize their decisions, rather than just being a bad guy who is evil. It's about understanding the motives and intent and what has put them in that place. You know, another show that's coming out this week is The Penguin, which we also reviewed, which it's on our podcast feeds, and it very much delves into something similar to that. So, you know, again, we're not to get off topic, but the idea that this series of Agatha All Along it feels very much like an exploration of this character and understanding, you know, is she bad or is she not? You know, it's really up to an audience to decide. And I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. So, cool. Any other performances that we wanted to shout out? Was there anyone else that we got everyone in there?
Again, the whole coven as a whole, they're all nailing their performances. Like you mentioned, Alion, Patti LuPone, Sasheer Zamata. They're just the way they bring these characters to life, and the spins they're giving us on the witch. The fact that we're getting different colors, if you will. We had the purple in Agatha, the scarlet in Wanda, and now we're getting to see the other colors of the witching world.
Yeah,
they're doing such a good job, like you said, of bringing the unique characters to the screen. They're not overlapping in any way. They all have their own motives, and they're all just very set in who they are. And they're doing, like, the cast is doing a great job of bringing these characters to life. And again, Patti LuPone to me kind of takes the cake, because she is just outstanding in these 4 episodes, and I can't wait till we get to one of her focused episodes, because I think there's a lot there to unpack, and I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really nice too. No one's being really left behind or just serving a purpose. Again, there's mystery around Teen, played by Joe Locke, or Rio with Aubrey Plaza, but there is a mystery around all of them and their history, and that makes for really good storytelling. And as you were saying, Meg, it's not being force fed to you. It's not being, like, this is how you need to understand it with heavy exposition. It's a journey, much like The Witch's Road, and we're on that journey together with these characters, and we're going to learn about it. And I'm all for it. I think this is great example of character driven stories. Okay, now we are talking about stories. We're talking about the story of this show. Again, we don't want to get too spoilery, but we've kind of been touching on it already, so we might not necessarily need to spend too much time talking about it. But how are you feeling about the story thus far? Darcy, I'll start with you.
I am stoked. I'm always a fan of finding out about, the history behind some of these groups and stuff like that. And the fact that we've had a couple movies of Doctor Strange kind of diving into the mystical side of things, I feel like this show is really the first time we're actually really seeing how that mystical world has existed in the MCU, and how people are, perceiving these witches or magicians throughout time. And I think it's really cool that, again, we're not getting a lot because this is a mystery show. So that what we're getting each time is enough for you to want to go back to that next episode and learn more about the characters. And then that overall, what's at the end of the road is such a unique, that we know that there's an end to this road, and we know that they're going to get there eventually. Just how they get there is going to be such an exciting journey. And it's why I want to keep coming back to the show.
Yeah, for me, again, the fact that it is following WandaVision in such a fantastic way has already gripped me. I've mentioned many a times on this podcast that I've been through a little bit of a Marvel burnout, and I'm really happy and excited to say that it kind of glimmered a little bit with Deadpool, and this show is getting me back on track. I'm really into what they've done with this. I'm dealing with the spookiness. Guys, it gets spooky.
It does. It does.
It really does, but it's great, and every single vibe is vibing. I'm so interested to see where this goes. I'm intrigued by every single storyline. There isn't a single character that has fallen flat. There isn't a single story that has fallen flat so far. Can't see it falling flat in the future. And I will say, I went into this, as I'm doing with many things now, by not really watching anything ahead of time. I think I saw the very first trailer that came out once they finally released a release date. And it's been really exciting to go in not 100% sure of what's going to happen, because then you do get to discover these stories as they come, rather than feeling like you kind of already know what's going on before going in. And I would encourage other people to do the same if that works for you.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to say about the show, is that after the trailers we got, I kind of was expecting one thing, and after these first 4 episodes, I'm pleasantly surprised to find that they were misleading us with those trailers.
Oh, good.
They were very much like, in the trailers, it very much seemed like Aubrey Plaza was going to be the big villain of this story, and there's so much more to this story than to her character beyond that too. So, like, again, if you want to watch trailers, just kind of get a tone of the show, for sure do that, because I think that you'll understand what they're going for without knowing what's going to be told to you. So I think, again, brilliant job by the marketing team for this one. So yeah.
Yes. And to add to like you've said, there's so many layers. The depth to the story of this show is phenomenal, and the writing is amazing. Who wrote it?
There's a variety of writers that are on
Cool.
it. But Jac Schaeffer is the showrunner, and executive producer, and she directed the first 2 episodes. I'm not sure if she's directing any of the other episodes.
Yeah, they really just, like, all around are doing an incredible job, and the story is so exciting. And yeah.
I think, again, as we're talking about, I think Jac Schaeffer is kind of the glue that holds it all together. I think she's very much imagined a new story that feels very reminiscent of WandaVision in a spin-off way. I think it's better. It's not a sequel. It's not a season 2. It's a spin-off. It's derivative of a character that we met in WandaVision, and it's a new story. But it still has the same tone and vibe as we were talking about at the top here. And I think, as you guys were both mentioning, the focus on the characters and the mystery around them is what's really interesting. And obviously, as you were mentioning, Darcy, the road itself, the what it signifies, what it means. It is something that I have heard that is referenced in the comics, but here it's serving a different purpose. And I did see some people online talking about just maybe how the road might serve as being very repetitive as we get through, in terms of just how it serves to be a conduit or a mechanism for us to experience some of these other genre styles. And I would just say to them that, well, look at WandaVision, because each episode, by episode, I think it was like 3 or 4, maybe even 3, you kind of understood the structure of how this series was going to go. And I think that same mentality has been applied here. You get through the first 2 episodes that really do transition you out of that WandaVision period and set up for a new story. And then 3 and 4 is entirely its own thing. And I think from 3 and 4 onward until we get to the end, we're going to be experiencing similar sort of tones and vibes, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of playful genres find their way in throughout the rest of these episodes. But I'm hooked. I'm definitely looking forward to what the mystery is around this. And I think, again, it really comes down to Jac Schaeffer working with her writers, working with the directors to really build something that feels spiritually connected to WandaVision, but also just incredibly fresh. I know that's a buzzword, but it's incredibly fresh. And I think, again, to shout out our fellow geek, Nate, who had part of his reaction tweet, used in Agatha All Along promo material from Marvel Studios. And the sentiment was, this is the perfect show for the Halloween season. And he couldn't be more right about that. This is the perfect show that will get you into that spooky feeling. And it's great. And on a plus side, it's great to see Nate's quote used in promo material with Geekcentric's name. Pretty cool. We posted it on our social, so you can go check that out. But look, we've gone through our thoughts about this show. Now let's get into closing it out. We're not going to rate this show because we haven't seen it all. So if you guys have any final thoughts, feel free to share them. But I'd love to know, is there an episode that you're looking forward to our audience checking out? Which one is it? Which one is it that you're going to think? And are you going to be watching it week to week, or are you going to wait and binge it all once it wraps? Darcy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we haven't really talked about is the music in the show, and again,
my God,
music from the show. Before, we were going to Fan Expo. You and Nate had already had the privilege of watching a couple of the episodes to get ready for the interviews that you were doing. But you guys, for the entire weekend, were just walking around humming the Witches Road song. It was driving me nuts. But after watching these 4 episodes and the way they use the theme song and kind of do it on all these different spins and work it into the background of the show, the music is outstanding. And so for that reason, I think the episode I'm most excited for people to watch is episode 4, because the performance of Down the Witches Road in that episode is so good and is such a big moment in the episode that I think you'll understand why they brought in, I can't remember the name of the couple, but the people behind the music of Coco.
Oh yeah, Kristen and Robert Lopez.
Yes, they did WandaVision too.
Yeah, they did WandaVision.
They did, yeah. So bringing them back, you can tell that there's a reason why they brought them back, and the way that they treat music in this show is so good. Episode 4, definitely going to be tuning in for all the episodes weekly, personally, and I'm going to be telling everybody else about it up until Halloween, probably.
Absolutely. And just on that note about the music, yes, Kristen and Bobby Lopez are returning to do the music. What's really great is that the music found a place to fit in WandaVision as a way to kind of, open up each episode, and it had that theme, so on and so forth. And the music here, it still makes sense. It's not like there's music that's just added for the sense of, it was a key element in WandaVision. No, it actually makes sense because there is a sense of singing that kind of plays into this witchcraft side where you're conjuring potions and so on and so forth. So it does make sense. And the significance of the song, the Witch's Road, it's great. But yes, it will get stuck in your head like any other song that Kristen and Bobby Lopez have done. It'll be stuck in your head.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the show. So excited. Also, just like final touch on music, the end credits of every episode is also a different song that has some kind of witchy magic vibe, which like I didn't catch on to until the 3rd episode. And I was like, wait, this is different. And then went back and listened, and I was like, that is such a cool touch. Again, so happy that the Marvel burnout is starting to dissipate, and I'm really getting excited about this show. And like Nate said, it is perfect for the Halloween season. Going into October, end of September, the fall, the crisp, the cold. It's so exciting to watch something that's like cozy, but also spooky and exciting. So whether you want to watch week by week or binge it all at the end right before Halloween, both work perfect.
Right.
I'm ready for more.
Yeah. And what's the episode that you're looking forward to?
Yes, thank you. I'm really excited, weirdly enough, for everybody to watch episode 1. That one, I was like, okay, cool. We found the vibe of the show. And then that was just the WandaVision of it all. And I thought that was such a fun way to get us into this new series.
Yeah, to sort of transition us out from what we know into something that's a bit different. I totally agree. Honestly, I'm with you, Darcy. I think episode 4, for some significant reasons, is the one I'm excited for fans to see. I think that's also going to be the episode where I think week to week the show is going to generate a lot of conversation. I think even after the first 2 episodes, I look forward to seeing the online discussion, whether it be negative or not. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty positive because everyone's been pretty positive thus far on it. But like to hear people, people getting back on the Mephisto train, I'm sure are going to be crazy about it. There's going to be a lot of conversation and discussion around each of the episodes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The way music and the character story that plays out in episode 4, I think it really makes it for some very pivotal moments that I think, again, will be conversation starters. And I look forward to seeing what people said. But I have no other final thoughts. I'm loving this show. Even though we didn't rate it, I think it's pretty clear, even just by this, we were pretty high on that. But it really does come to experiencing the story in its full form, getting to the end. But we are very high on these first 4 episodes, and we appreciate you joining us for our spoiler-free review. But that is it. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, feel free to subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. And hey, once you've checked out the first 2 episodes and you want to reach out and let us know what you think, well, you can do so at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Instagram at We Are Geekcentric, or on X at GeekcentricYT. Now, we are not done talking about Agatha All Along. We are very excited to announce that we will be starting a new watch club for this show. However, we are going to be delaying the start. As mentioned, we have seen the first 4 episodes. So we are going to be waiting until episode 4 drops to drop our watch club. And then after that, we're going to be doing week to week discussions like we always do, because there's going to be so much to talk about for sure. Also, as I was mentioning, we do have some interviews available on podcast feeds and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric. I had the chance to sit down with Jac Schaeffer, showrunner, executive producer, writer of Agatha All Along, and Nate got to talk with Joe Locke in one interview and Kathryn Hahn in another. And he asked them both a really fun question about who they'd like to star in a Broadway musical with from the MCU. So go check that out. Again, both on podcast feeds and on youtube.com/geekcentric. We also have a ton of other episodes, spoiler-free reviews galore. As I mentioned, The Penguin drops tomorrow on HBO Max and Crave if you're Canadian like we are. So you can check out that first episode at 9 p.m. But if you want to hear our thoughts about the entire series, yes, we were lucky enough to see all of it. You can check that out right now because it's available on podcast feeds. We also have all of our convention coverage from Fan Expo Canada, as well as D23. All of that stuff's available. We are wrapping up the Hot Geek Summer. It's time to get cozy and spooky for the Geek Fall thing. I don't even know what they call it. I know Nate has some sort of like clever term for it, so forgive me. It's going to be a cozy. Oh, I think that's it. Cozy Geek Fall thing. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, that's it. But thank you again for tuning in. Meg, Darcy, thank you for joining me and dealing with me on this review. You guys are the real spellbinding magic trick of it all. So I appreciate you guys. All right. Until next time, as we say,
laters.
Bye.
Peace.